The final whistle has blown at the London Olympic Stadium. West Ham United have smashed Leicester City, 4-1 tonight. Pablo Fornal was opening the scoring after 24 minutes before the advantage was doubled by Said Benrahma. After 56 minutes, West Ham conceding on 70 minutes when Tielemans pulling it back, halving the deficit and making us all a little bit nervous. But we weren't to be kept worrying for long because 10 minutes later, with 10 minutes left to go, Michail Antonio scored his 48th goal in the Premier League as a West Ham player, finally beating Paolo Di Canio's long-standing record. And then he went one further just 2 minutes later by scoring West Ham's fourth on the night, making it a very, very comprehensive win for West Ham. 2 wins out of 2, 8 goals scored, 3 goals conceded. Crystal Palace up next. DL, what do you make of that then?
I'm kind of speechless. I'm actually kind of speechless. I ain't used to it. Pinky put in the other games thread. I don't know if you saw my reply to it actually about already after 2 games. It's looking like there's Liverpool, Man City and Chelsea, wasn't it? You said, Pinky? The 3 to win the league.
The title.
Now, I done the correction and I said, the correction, mate, is 4. You forgot West Ham. If this was anyone else other than West Ham, we'd be talking about it, wouldn't we, surely? Now, I'm not running ahead of myself because obviously it's contradicting what I said about the table. But come on, 8 goals scored, 3 conceded in 2 games, and we haven't played muggy teams. It's not like we've played the teams that have just come up. We played a team that finished above us, and we played a Newcastle team that took the lead against us twice.
Yeah, beat us twice last year.
Yeah, we've come back. We have got a bloody good team. We have got a bloody good team. Where can it go? Come on, Sullivan.
Oh, stand up for the champions. They're showing us as top of the league.
Yep, I was just about to come to that. West Ham, Chelsea, Liverpool, Brighton, Tottenham all level on 6 points, but West Ham top of the table at the moment by courtesy of goals scored, 8 goals in those opening 2 games. Pinky, what a start to the season!
You take it all day long, and do you know what? How thrilled am I for those West Ham United supporters who have gone along to the game this evening. They've seen us, frankly, they've thrashed, a pretty good Leicester City team, who, to be fair, tonight weren't really at the races. But do you know why? That's because we didn't let them get to the races. We had 2 outstanding players in the middle of the park in Souček and Rice. They completely bossed the middle of the field, gave Leicester City nothing whatsoever. Jamie Vardy may as well have stayed at home tonight and watched EastEnders or whatever they do in the Midlands to while away the hours, because he never really got a sniff tonight. And you look at that tonight and you're going, 60,000 West Ham United supporters.
Yeah.
And you think of all the grief we've had over the years, even the recent years in terms of everything that's gone on, just to see a couple of comprehensive, total dismantling of the opposition, 2 games running. Yeah, that's not a freak of nature. That actually is a game plan being perfectly executed by the players. It's a manager that's actually got everyone on the same page. But in no doubt about it, David Moyes has transformed the mindset of the players at this football club. He's changed the personnel dramatically. And Manuel Pellegrini must be looking at this now, staring at his shoes going, lucky I got another job quite quickly, because I wouldn't be getting one anytime soon now. Because Moyes has actually come in. He's made the chairman look a little bit of a, how can I put it, not wise man, having let him go first time around. And he's done a super job. But most of all, you look at it. Antonio, I think, was signed by Slaven Bilic. And I think, from memory, made his debut away at Man City. And that game away at City that season was a bit of an Alamo. We came away from there with a win. But a player who's so confident, he's got himself a little cardboard or whatever it is, mock-up on the sidelines, ready to go and do a little routine with. Great stuff to see. And That's exactly the sort of thing our supporters love. You know, whether it's stroking the carpet after Karen's had the carpet replaced, or hugging himself on the touchline. Yeah, only at West Ham can we have a player that crashes a car dressed as a snowman, and everyone just laughs it off. I mean, that's Antonio for you. But behind him, being no doubt at all, 4-0 had a terrific game this evening. Then Rama, another solid performance. Bowen again, very good. Rice, Souček. I mean, to be honest with you, I didn't even notice that Ogbonna and Dawson were on the field for most of the game.
Yeah.
That's how dominant we were tonight. It was like they didn't have anything to do, really. My main concern about Ogbonna and Dawson is that between them, they made a hash of a very good goal-scoring opportunity. But really, defensively, they had not very much to do, and one of their quieter evenings. So, great win for West Ham, and with players to come, with a rookie manager really, and Patrick Vieira, not done very much in the window, I don't think, not enough certainly. You'd have to fancy our chances of making it 3 wins on the spin come Saturday. You really would.
Yeah, Palace, of course, only with 1 point from their opening 2 games. We'll come to that very shortly. Of course, we'll be looking at the Palace game in due course. But before we do that, we're going to reflect on what's been a fantastic performance for the Hammers tonight. And someone who was watching it live at the London Olympic Stadium was Gnome, who's joining us now on the stream. Gnome, are you with us? Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you perfectly. It's a bit noisy around here, but hope you can hear me all right. I'm just going to try and find somewhere a little bit less busy. But anyway, carry on. Yeah.
Okay, good stuff. Well, I mean, it's been an absolutely fabulous night for the Hammers tonight. Of course, when we spoke at half-time, it was only 1-0. There was a lot of football to be played. We spoke about the importance of that second goal. West Ham did get the second goal, of course. In the end, it took a while to come, but Leicester pulling it back, and then Michail Antonio, two great goals at the end. How do you sum up what you've seen over there tonight?
By and large, I thought it was magnificent, to be honest. It was an objection on how to play against 10 men. Wasn't a duff performance in the house on our side. Really, absolutely. I mean, one little blip there, and but sorry, you hear a few happy people around. No, I just thought it was wonderful. Superb performance. I'll give Antonio man of the match purely because of the occasion. No, I thought Rice was absolutely wonderful in the middle. They just run that game. That was his game, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Had an American chap sat next to it, his first game. So I told him he'd come again.
It'll never be as good as that. That's the problem. Lulled into a full sense of security there tonight. Great. Seriously. And I don't know if you've seen it yet. We're top of the table. We are top.
Yeah, I kind of worked it out. Yeah. That'll do, won't it?
Yeah, well, I mean, we were trying to work out, and I don't know if you know this.
4 goals a game.
Yes, yeah, good stuff. I'm going to put you on the spot now because I don't know if you can remember, but DL couldn't remember the last occasion on which we scored 4 goals in succession in Premier League fixtures, and we were trying to figure out whether we've ever scored 4 goals in the first 2 games of a top-flight season. Do either of those anything sort of spring to mind for you there?
Not really. I mean, you need Rio for that, don't you?
Well, that's what we were saying. We were missing him tonight, unfortunately. Yeah. Obviously, Rio unavailable. But, we couldn't think. I mean, if anyone who is on the live stream now can help us out with that, please do. You said Antonio was your man of the match there, Gnome, tonight, which was interesting. Great supporting cast, really, of course. And Pinky made the point that we really didn't notice the defenders at all, apart from what they were doing in the opposite half, because, we really limited them to barely any chances at all, didn't we?
Exactly, yeah. And I was thinking part of the way through the second half, Fabianski, when did he last touch the ball?
I think we may have lost Gnome again.
Yeah, no, I can hear. I'm back, yeah.
Oh, you're here. Good. Okay, good stuff. If you can chuck the video on, no, mate, I know it's difficult, but if you get a chance, it will help us know whether you're live or not with us.
Okay, it's just I'm walking and I have to put my ear to the phone because I've got proper headphones. So
no worries at all. No worries at all. Well, if and when you find a quiet spot and you can flick it on, that would be grand. But yeah, I mean, Pinky and Gnome felt that Michael Antonio was his man of the match out there tonight. Would you agree with that, or would you have gone for someone else?
I'd have gone with Rice. You know, the crucial interception and way he released the ball quickly to set us on the way for one of the goals. You know, when we see his stats later, we'll probably see that he's intercepted or, you know, re-won possession 4 or 5 times tonight. You know, if he's playing for another club, we're raving about him. We'll be saying he's the difference. Well, actually, I'm saying very clearly for West Ham United, he's the difference. Yep. But to be fair to Mikel Antonio, you know, I mean, I raved about one of his finishes there tonight. 2 of them were actually, you know, were terrific. But,
yep.
but the one where he's turned his defender and got his shot off and buried it in the corner, you know, if he was a £50 million striker, a £70 million striker, you'd be saying, yeah, that's what they do at that caliber. Mm-hmm. That's what Mikel Antonio cost us about £4 and a bag of crisps.
Yeah,
you know, when we signed him, that's what he's done for the club. And dare I say it, he is a player who's improved under David Moyes. Under Slaven Bilic, there was a game away at Crystal Palace where he had, I don't know if YouTube will allow it, but he had a brain fart and he gave the ball away deep in the opposition half with about 20 seconds to go. Palace tore up field and scored. And at that precise moment, I said, I'm done with Antonio because he's made an awful decision there. We were desperate for the points. And it probably cost Bilic's job in the final analysis. You know, that was the final straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah.
But he's kind of become a reborn player. He's done brilliantly. And tonight, his 2 goals, any team in the league would say they want him in their starting lineup. If he can do that every week, they'd all take him, be in no doubt. Great stuff from Antonio. But my man of the match was Declan Rice. I just think he's probably played about 70% of his capability and he bossed the game, really.
Yeah.
Easy peasy, lemon squeezy.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with you. I mean, you know, the pitch was full of fantastic performances across the field tonight, but I think I'll go for Declan for just the sheer energy and the influence that he had on the match. We were just seeing there while you were talking, Pinky, some wonderful scenes outside the stadium. Thousands of happy hammers making their way home to the various parts of the southeast and wherever else they've come from tonight, following an absolutely fantastic win. Everyone in good cheer, which is great to see. Before we move on to the next thing, DL, if I can just ask you. Man of the match for you tonight. Who did you have down?
I'm going to go for Mick just because he deserves it. Really, he's broke the record and then broke it again, and he's just a legend now in my eyes. He's not. Oh, I'm struggling to find the words here. I'm a little bit emotional, really. I've got his interview up on the corner in the screen, and I'll just look at his face. Just look at him.
Do you want to pull off for a second, DL, and just? Sorry, I didn't mean that. I didn't mean that quite literally. What I meant to say was, do you want to just go to the Antonio interview and let us know in a minute or so what? I'm sure he's not quite that excited, but you know, let us know what he says if you get the opportunity, if there's still any left.
I can't really hear it. I can just.
Okay.
He's having the interview now. He's getting his cardboard cutout over.
Yeah. Well, good stuff. All right. Well, I'm sure we can pick up on that in a few moments. Anyway, some of the team letting us know who they felt was man of the match tonight on the live chat. Some shouts coming in for Ben Rama, Camel saying Ben Rama was Kamel. Sorry, Kamel, if I pronounced your name correctly. Saying Ben Rama was good today and last week. Focus Bill going for Antonio. Jonas Sparks, big up Antonio. So you know, it seems that two or three names. Focus Bill, big respect to Antonio. Amin Ben saying Ben Rama is simply world class. So it looks like those two guys are Richard Wharton. Antonio is the best striker in the Premier League right now. Well, let's talk about that. Is that fair, Pinky? Antonio, best striker in the Premier League right now?
Strikers' performances are measured in goals. He's outscored the rest of them. So at this precise moment, he's absolutely red hot. And as I said 3 or 4 minutes ago, there's 2 finishes tonight. Any team in this division would put him in their starting 11 if they thought he could do that every week. Any team. Manchester City, Chelsea, Man United, Tottenham, any of them. If they felt he could do that every week, he's starting for all of them. And never mind Harry Kane, £100 million. There's Michael Antonio. Yeah. I mean, his first goal tonight, I mean, just sensational finish. The problem with him, you've got to give a balanced view, he should have probably had at least 2 more. The 2 goals aren't the story. It's the 2 chances that he didn't take that are the story. And if he was that 70, 80, 90 million pound striker, going home not just with a match ball, but with a goal on top tonight. That's the difference. And he's done brilliantly for us, not knocking the guy. But you know what? He'll know deep down, and his manager will know who's good, what's par on the chances he had. And, for the money he cost, is there a better value for money player out there at this point in time? Nowhere. Yeah,
not at all.
Great
absolutely
stuff.
Not. Absolutely not. Good shout. Eric Sang also going for Antonio as man of the match. Walid Kadua, Ben Rama man of the match. So those 2 really cropping up quite a lot from you guys on the live chat tonight. Stevie Page saying, "Hi Steve, good to see you. We look like a proper team." Chris Akabusi, here's a different one, saying lots of players will get lots of credit, but one who will go under the radar tonight is Pablo Fornals. He was immense, was everywhere, and was the linchpin for West Ham tonight. Statman Dave, Declan Rice's game by numbers versus Leicester City. A couple of us had Declan Rice down as man of the match tonight. 96% pass accuracy is the figure you were looking for, Pinky. 7 ball recoveries and 3 interceptions. 3 out of 4 tackles won, 2 out of 3 successful dribbles, 2 chances created, and 1 assist. A progressive. What about those figures? Absolutely outstanding.
Yeah, and that's why. We've talked about the chairman putting his checkbook away. It's not so much his checkbook I'm worried about; it's his accounts receivable that I'm concerned with, because there's 3 or 4 teams that need to qualify for the Champions League every year that could really use a player of Declan Rice's capability. And whilst I've commented in the past that actually his position would probably only command a fee of 60 or 70 million top whack.
Yeah.
Because just the nature of where he plays on the field, he is performing at a level now where he really would command the premium. If somebody wanted him this window, forget any number that's 60 or 70 million. It's 100 million plus. He is that good at the minute. He really is. He's outstanding. And if we hang on to him as long as we can, I'll be happy with that.
Brilliant touch.
Good stuff. I can hear Gary Neville in the background in someone's stream. I don't know which one of you guys has got him on, but I'm guessing he was as impressed as we were tonight. Someone else who was equally impressed by West Ham's performance was the Guardian's Jacob Steinberg. Jacob, of course, a former KUMB contributor, wrote some match reports for us back in the day. Jacob has taken to Twitter to say simply, West Ham are good. I don't know what's happening. DL, do you know what's happening?
I'm as perplexed as everybody else, to be honest. We're bloody good team. We are really, really good team. There's no fluke about us scoring 4 goals. You can say the opposition, but we made Newcastle look ordinary. We've made Leicester City look ordinary, who are no mugs, and we've done that now three games in a row against them as well. And the plaudits and stuff that they've been getting, and I quite like the fact that we still really, maybe not this season now. If we keep this up, we ain't going to do a last season and go under the radar. I think there's, keep going back to what Pinky says, the board need to support this manager, because we could be on the cusp of something outstanding that is beyond our wildest dreams. Now, I'm not going to be ridiculous and say, we're going to win the league and all that crap. That's just ridiculous. We're West Ham, we're not Tottenham. But with some smart investment in the last week of this transfer window, we was only 2 points off Champions League last season. On what we've seen from the 2 games so far, and the caveat is it is only 2 games.
Yeah,
I can't see any reason, with a bit of astute business in the last week of the window, why not? Actually, why not? We could do that. We've just hammered 8 goals past 2 Premier League teams. That's the thing. 8 goals. That's no mean feat. That is no mean feat whatsoever.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
We could have a good season if, again, another caveat, if Europe doesn't take too much out of us. Now, it may prove at the end of the season that these points we've got on the board have been invaluable because our form drop off in Europe. But it is down to the board to back the manager to make sure that doesn't happen.
Okay.
Now, I did see that the bloke, it was on Twitter and it's been in the transfer thread as well. The bloke called Areola coming to us is called Laborde coming to us as well. That we're in talks. I know absolutely nothing about him. So if somebody in the comments who's more into their European football could give an opinion on him, maybe. I don't know, but he's a good eight. I had a quick Google of him. He's a nice age. He fits Moyes' MO very much so. Same as Zuma. He's a good defender. I put in the transfer thread earlier on. He's not 125 grand a week player, and I hope that we can get a deal over the line for him. And it just means we need someone in centre mid as well. My concern is we don't seem to be being linked to centre midfielders, which is a bit concerning. And the other thing that's concerning, as Pinky touched on as well, is Declan Rice. He's been very... Usually he's got a lot to say for himself on social media and stuff like that. There is the murmurings coming out about his refusal to sign contracts from various sources. And my concern is he's been conspicuous by his absence on that one. And I've got this niggly feeling at the back of my mind that something may happen with him at the end, right at the end of the window, where we're going to get all the old rollicks of we didn't have time and stuff like that. It will take a monumental bid, but as we saw with Villa and Grealish, they stuck £100 million on his head because they didn't want to let him go. Grealish, in my eyes, is nowhere near £100 million player. City paid the money. I don't know. The only thing I'm clinging on to is that I don't think there's anyone apart from City who has got £100 million laying around to lay out for Declan Rice. But if the board was offered 80 million, I think he'd go.
Well, I mean that of course is the big question, isn't it? It's one thing saying that we're going to keep Declan, it's our intention, but of course the board's hand hasn't been tested yet. They haven't been offered that huge sum of money, which we would imagine at some point is inevitable, even if it isn't this season and next season, or maybe the season after. It's going to come eventually, but until that point, we don't know. We will come on to that in just a second, actually, DL. I just want to break in quickly, just to point out, according to our friend Opta Joe, West Ham have ended the day top of the Premier League for only the second time ever. Anyone remember when the last time was? Of course you got it. No one's going to remember that. August the 22nd, 2006. 2006, the last time West Ham ended a Premier League match day top of the table. So 15 years coming it's been. So good stuff. We're happy with that. Jaron here says Soufal was really good. I like this guy. Another shout for man of the match. The person you were alluding to there, dear, was Gaëtan Laborde, who is obviously the Montpellier striker, someone that West Ham have been linked with for the last couple of transfer windows. And as far as we understand, there was a deal agreed back in January to bring him in on a €2.5 million euro loan fee with view to a 12.5 million fee at the end of the season. But of course, David Moyes in the end opted to bring in Jesse Lingard, and the rest is history. But it's been one that's sort of been in the background all summer, hasn't it? That one, not probably Moyes' first choice player, but certainly someone he's been keeping an eye on for the last year or so. And it looks like, if rumours are correct anyway, emanating from France this evening, that that deal could certainly be on. We're going to talk briefly about the transfer window. Firstly, Pinky, will we sign anyone? Secondly, how many players do we need? And thirdly, in which positions?
Well, yes, we'll sign someone. I mean, where I have a degree of sympathy with our club and other clubs of our kind of means, when you start paying employees £120,000 a week and more, if you sign in the first week of June, by the time they've won you a point, they've cost you, £1 million. Now, in the mad, insane world of the Premier League, we talk about £1 million as if it's not very much money. Yet every single person who is watching this broadcast or taking part of it, with £1 million in our back pockets, we'd probably sit there and go, that's it, I'm packing up work and I'm done forever. So £1 million a lot of do-re-mi. So I think sometimes in the Premier League, when we get used to big, huge sums being chucked around, it's easy to say, well, it's only 5 million, 10 million, just pay the money. But actually, when you haven't got very much money, you do have to haggle. You have to negotiate on everything, whether it's the amount, the payment terms, the structure, and all the rest of it. So I have some sympathy with clubs like ourselves, because we're not alone in this. Let's not kid ourselves. We're not the only club who aren't spending money. So yes, I think we'll bring some players in. How many do we need and where do we need them? Yep. If we want to take European competition seriously, which I think we should, because two reasons. Firstly, our fans deserve it. And secondly, our players deserve it. If you want to hang on to a Declan Rice or encourage a Thomas Souček to sign a new deal, or a Soufal or whoever, then you want them playing at the highest possible level and say, look, we told you if you came to West Ham, you'd do this, and we have. And now we want to go to the next level. Yeah. They've got to believe that the club has actually got a plan to move forward. That's how you build successful football teams and clubs. So we should take it seriously. So for my money, we need 2 centre-backs, 2 central midfielders, and 2 strikers if we want to take all the competition seriously.
Okay.
I'd settle for, as a compromise, 1 centre-back, 1 centre midfielder, and 1 striker. Because my big fear is we just don't have the money. I don't think we've got the money at all.
Okay.
I think we've probably got somewhere in the region of 50 to 60 million pounds that we can actually lay out on players. And to a certain extent, that means the manager is shopping in quick save rather than Waitrose.
You happy with the fullback situation at the moment?
I'm not happy, but it's about priorities. I mean, fullbacks we know are the work rate that they've got to get through. The workload is immense. We're asking an awful lot of Aaron Cresswell on one flank. I think as a minimum, there's a question mark over Arthur's fitness longer term. But also, let's be honest, he can't defend. I mean, you may as well have me out there defensively. On the other flank, obviously, Soufal's done very well. Ryan Fredericks, I just don't think he's quite got the quality. Yes, you could say we've got Ben Johnson coming through and he could stick him on either flank, blah, blah, blah. But we are a little bit short there as well. But we're short everywhere. Let's not kid ourselves. I mean, Chelsea at the weekend had 5 players, not even on their bench, who would go straight into our first team.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the difference. That's what we're chasing. Yeah. And we're not going to get there overnight if we ever do get there. But I think we are, if we want to take the European venture seriously, it's 6 players. If we settle for an early exit in the League Cup and the FA Cup, which I think would be a betrayal of our supporters, yeah, because our supporters pay the money at the gate. 60,000 have turned up tonight on a Monday night for a game that's on TV. National television.
Yep.
Yeah, that you can watch anywhere. You know, you can stream it, you can pay your subscription, whatever it may be. 60,000 have rocked up to the London Stadium tonight. So we've seen the supporters do their bit. We've seen the manager do his bit. We've seen the players do their bit. The coaching staff do their bit. Can you see where I'm going with this yet?
Yeah.
Who's actually not delivering? And I'm afraid, Mr. Sullivan, find the money, because if you don't, if your only answer as the chairman of West Ham United is we've got to sell our very best player to invest in players 3 or 4 who aren't anywhere near as good as him, you can't have any credibility left as chairman of West Ham United Football Club. You have to say, my time is up. I need to sell and I need to go. And you just got to be honest with yourself at that and say, look, I can't compete in this league. There's no shame in that. There's no disgrace.
Yeah.
If he doesn't have the money, he should just say so. But the big thing, and I think this is what's really sticking the craw with many supporters, how does something in which he and his business partner have invested no more than 60 or 70 million pounds of their own money actually into the club, where does this valuation of 500 and 600 million pounds that he wants for his shares come from? I'd quite like the chairman to write a column in the match programme for next Saturday explaining why he feels another investor should spend all of their money, all of their capital, just making David Sullivan and David Gold even richer, as opposed to investing that money in West Ham United Football Club. How much is enough for Mr. Gold and Mr. Sullivan to have made a reasonable return on their investment and say that's enough and we'll go now? Yeah, because surely 600 million is way over the top.
Yeah.
You know, 200 million would be more than adequate profit on what they've put in. And I'd quite like to hear the chairman explain to supporters why he feels he and his business partner should walk away with a fortune when actually they've put relatively little into the club itself. I'd quite like to hear the chairman's thoughts on that.
We'll come back to that in just a second because we want to talk about PAI Capital before we go. But just hold that thought for a moment, Pinky, because I want to ask DL about the transfer situation. DL, Pinky thinks that we need 6 players, 2 centre halves, 2 central midfielders, and 2 forward strikers before the window. I think we're all. None of us are going to expect that sort of investment within the next 7 or 8 days. But let me put the same question to you. What do you think we need? What do you think we're likely to get before the 1st of September?
I'm on exactly the same page as Pinky, same position, same amount. We're not going to, there's no way we're going to get that. Yeah. And again, one of each. I wouldn't say happy with. That's probably not the right word, but I'd feel more comfortable if that's what we got in. Certainly need someone at centre back, but then, we've had 2 dominant performances, and we have conceded 3 goals, which is a worry. And going back to repeat myself, there are 3 goals, regardless of the fact. I get what Pinky said earlier about they shouldn't have been able to get the shot off the defences. Fabianski shouldn't have made the save, but I think in all 3 goals that we've scored this season, he could have done better. And again, I'm not saying he should have saved them all. The one tonight, any keeper that lets a goal through their legs needs to be looking at themselves. You're like, oh yeah, he was a bit unlucky with the deflection, I know, but if he stayed on his line, he would have stayed that. But he had a little rush of blood. He's come running out. Same as against Newcastle. Their second goal, he was rooted to the spot. And even somebody like, I know he wasn't particularly good when he was here, someone like Joe Hart, when he was at his peak would have got down to that. Whether he would have saved it's another kettle of fish altogether. But he used to have the reactions of something with quick reactions.
Yeah.
And,
so you would have Areola back in the starting 11 for Palace?
I think so. I think so. I know you shouldn't change a winning team.
Mm-hmm.
I know you shouldn't change a winning team, but we won it because I know it's an old cliche. We won it because we scored more goals than them. We're not going to be that lucky. We're going to come up against tighter defences, and that with this team at the moment, that is my only concern. Is the 3 goals, and I'm being picky. Yeah. I've got to be picky. We've scored 8 goals in 2 games, but if we hadn't, we've conceded 3. In teams gone by, we would have either drawn at Newcastle or lost maybe 2-1 or whatever. We're in a fortunate enough position. We've got goals from all over the pitch. Whereas I don't really think, I know people screaming, we need a striker, we need a striker. If we can get Lingard, I don't think we're going to need a striker because we done fine when Antonio was injured. Without a striker, the game's changed. I said that Atalanta, the out-and-out striker per se is a dying breed. Because even Antonio's not an out striker. You'll see him out on the wing, on either wing, and you'll see him playing through the middle. He's to me, he's still not 100% number 9 out striker. Their days are gone. Look at last season with Vardy; he barely scored, and he's an out striker. The game's progressing. So I don't think, as much as some people, that getting this out striker is as important. 8 goals in 2 games tells you that. The thing that I think is important is shoring up that defence and centre midfield for if there is an injury to Rice, and to stop conceding the goals. 3 goals in 2 games, taking away the goal scored, isn't great. You know what I mean? It's not great, and that's really my concern. We need a stronger defence. We can't have 7 players in a box and their player getting the shot off. And again, we need a keeper who's a bit more flexible and got quicker reactions than Fab. And that's not putting Fab down. And Fab's, his age is catching up with him. Yeah, it catches up with everybody, and he'd be a great keeper for somebody, say like now or Brighton or whatever. But I think that with our ascendancy and his I won't say his descendancy, because he's still a very good keeper. I think we've outgrown Fabianski. And this new chap, from what I saw of him last season, and again, it's only what I've read and stuff, he seems to be a very good keeper. And seeing some of he's a lot more agile as well than Fabianski. Which is what you need in a keeper. Fabianski's looking a bit stiff nowadays. So yeah, Areola, but other than that, nothing really needs changing. We just need a little bit of depth, and we'll be good.
Okay, so it looks like both the guys are suggesting we need 6 players, hoping we get 3. We've got just over a week to do that in. Interesting comment from Hobo there. I just put a message out on chat asking everyone watching to let us know who they think we need to bring in, what positions we need strengthening. And Hobo replies by saying the ballroom needs strengthening. Now, talking about strengthening the ballroom brings me nicely on to our next point, which is PAI Capital. Of course, in the last few weeks, none of you will have missed the fact that this consortium are looking to take control of West Ham, trying to buy out David Sullivan and David Gold, who I should just point out is taking absolute pelters on Twitter right now for simply suggesting that it was great to have the fans back in the stadium. Unfortunately, every time that David Gold seems to post on Twitter, it seems to receive just a slew of insults and responses saying things like, put your money in your pocket and buy some players, support the manager. But there you go. Go and have a look at David Gold's Twitter feed if you want to take a look at what's going on there right now. But yes, turning our attention briefly to PAI Capital. Of course, they've been pilloried, it's fair to say, I think, for their PR so far. Their entire PR campaign led by Dominic Mohan, formerly editor of The Sun, as we revealed on KUMB last week, has been a little bit messy so far. Their interest announced by former apprentice contestant Tom Skinner on Twitter. They then revealed that they'd brought West Ham legends Rio Ferdinand and Anton Ferdinand on board to support their bid. There was a rather bizarre interview on TalkSport last week by Philip Beard, in which I think it's fair to say he was absolutely torn apart by Simon Jordan, ex of Crystal Palace, Jim White's sidekick. Of course, we know about Jim White's allegiances to the current board, so I'm sure there was something going on there. And then, of course, we got the news in the last 48 hours that Tony Cottee was the latest West Ham legend, real legend at least, to be fair, on this occasion, to team up with PAI Capital. Now, Pinky, Tony did reveal that he wasn't being paid by PAI to support their bid, but did reveal that he was in line for a job if and when the takeover goes through. Apparently, they've promised him a role, at the club if that does succeed. But let's just roll back a little bit. PAI Capital. What's your view on everything that's happened so far in terms of their PR and their attempts to take over the club? We know that you think the money that's being asked by the board is quite ridiculous and more than it should be. But what's your view on PAI? What's your take on that whole situation so far?
Well, I mean, who are they really? I mean, what do you really know about them? Not very much. Is Azerbaijani money, wherever that is. I mean, how many of our supporters can find that country on a map? Not too many, I'd suggest. Doesn't mean it's a bad country or bad people, but actually it's another case of some weird and wonderful overseas owner looking to buy an English football club. And I'm not sure that I'm really comfortable with that. I think as well the way they've gone about their business. I mean, the good bit is they've enlisted Philip Beard, who, however clumsily he comes across on TalkSport or wherever he's being interviewed, does at least understand the essential truth, which is the stadium needs resolving. The control of the stadium and what goes on and all the aspects around it need resolving. So he understands the essential truth around that. The problem we've got is it comes across as a little bit of being very comfortable in the corridors of power where those sorts of decisions get made. These quangos that the government have set up, and they can sit there and talk. People who you or I would never meet, but seem to get jobs that are paying hundreds of thousands of pounds a year for doing not an awful lot. And so there's a way that those things get done. But does that qualify him or anybody else in PAI Capital to run a football club that wants to progress towards, the upper ends of the Premier League, win a trophy, win back the hearts and minds of supporters and so forth? And my main concern with them is by just enlisting 2 or 3 former players, and I'm not going to start digging out former players because I don't think that really helps. But I just think, where is the executive competence that they can put forward and say, here is our proposed chief executive officer who will negotiate the transfer deals for any player that we're going to sign. And here is their CV with the experience that they could bring to the table in that role. So if you look at the very well-run clubs in the Premier League, they've all got CEOs or people that report to the money men who are competent and capable in doing those deals, which are multi-million-pound deals in the transfer market in a way that satisfies the bean counters, but also satisfies the football managers. And if PAI really wanted to get the supporters on board, I suggest they need to start telling us about, well, who's actually going to run the club? I mean, not being funny, a 200 or 300 million pound business, who's going to run it?
Yeah.
What experience do they have? And don't in any way misinterpret this as me suggesting we're better off with who we've got. Yeah. I want rid of who we've got, believe you me. Yeah. But I also want someone that actually says they have an interest in buying West Ham United to demonstrate some kind of executive competence. And because that's really where our problems are at West Ham. We've got a vice chair that doesn't appear to contribute all that much. Where are the stadium naming rights deals? Where are the sponsorship deals?
Yeah,
they're not there. We've got a chairman who seems to do deals that see the club's finances so badly stretched that we end up getting accused by clubs like Eintracht Frankfurt that we can't pay our bills, which has hurt us in the transfer market. We've got another, what is essentially a minority shareholder now that just seems to tweet, don't go to bed and things like that. So we know that what we've got currently is barely competent at that level. I think they've got many fine people reporting into them at a more junior level who work very hard for the club, and I'm not criticizing those people. Okay. But if you've got PAI Capital coming in, where is their executive competence that can run a football club? That's a very different skill set to schmoozing the corridors of power of the LLDC and the London Assembly and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
And that to me is a big question mark. Who's going to run the show?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Very good point, actually, because that hasn't really been addressed yet. I'm sure that PAI will say that they can't reveal anything due to NDAs, etc. But it's a very valid point. It's one thing putting the finance in, but you don't know who's going to be, as you say, running the show. DL, is it a property deal?
I think it's 100% a property deal. I don't think that. Obviously, I can only go what I've read in the media and whatnot else, and what they themselves have put on social media. I don't think they've got any interest in West Ham United FC as a football club. I see that they have interest in West Ham United FC as a cash cow for property investment. They give me the heebie-jeebies. From day one, there's just something about them I can't put my finger on. Everything so far just seems to be completely amateur. Says me, sitting here from me computer chair with no experience of running a football club at all. But something doesn't sit right with me about this mob whatsoever. I could be wrong. I could be totally wrong about it. And I'm always fair to put my hands up when I am wrong. But I suspect that we will be jumping out of the frying pan into the fire.
Yeah.
These ones, their interest isn't what we can do on the pitch. Their interest is going to be the return on their investment from the Olympic Stadium, the lease, and the Olympic Park. And West Ham will just be a sideline to them, and they worry me. They worry me. They don't come across as football people. They come across as property developers, and it's like, how can I put it? We're like the farm, let's say, that a massive developer wants, and he'll say, yeah, we'll keep growing the crops and stuff, and it doesn't matter. But then gradually it reduces until the farm's just a little farmhouse with a little bit of ground around it and a bloody great big housing estate. And yeah, they don't fill me with confidence at all. They don't fill me with confidence. Pinky's right. Who is fronting this? There isn't. They don't. So far, we've had Rio, Anton, Tony Cottee, Beard. Who's actually representing them? Who's properly speaking for them?
Yeah.
So far, I've not really seen anybody. Beard was on the radio and got absolutely ripped apart by Simon Jordan. It was an absolute car crash.
Yeah, I was going to say, did you listen to that interview? What did you make of it?
It was embarrassing. It was painful. It was cringeworthy. What I will say, it's just a shame that David Sullivan hasn't gone on to talk sport when Simon Jordan's been on there. But I don't think he'd have the bottle because he knows he'd get both barrels as well. Because I know that they're no fans of each other.
No.
And it's I read that, you know, on the forum, people were saying, "Oh, you know, wake up! You know, it was a setup. It's Jim White. It's you know, David Sullivan's mate kind of thing. Smell the coffee." Sorry, I think that's a load of old rubbish.
Yeah.
The man just did not seem prepared, and at the end, you know, watch a message to West Ham fans, and he starts coming on about, "Oh well, you know, the situation in Afghanistan." What?
Mm.
What's that got to do with it, mate? That was your chance at the very end of the interview to say something that make us go, "Actually, do you know what? Yeah, maybe you are in it for the right reason." And then he comes out with that flannel.
Yeah.
And just that one little thing for me was like, "Oh, you know what? You're not worth it. Go away."
Okay. I mean, that certainly seems to be the general consensus, doesn't it, so far? Most people seem to be sort of kind of surprised at how poor the PR is, and their entire preparation for dealing with the, you know, that as I say, the PR side of the gig, which is obviously, you know, you've got to get the fans on side. And as they've found out, you know, it's not quite as simple as you know, just enlisting the support of a couple of former players. And getting them on board and expecting West Ham fans to, you know, fawn over the possibility of, you know, replacing David Sullivan. Pinky, I think you wanted to come in there on that before we move on.
Getting the fans on side. No. I think that's what you do when you haven't got the folding.
Mm-hmm.
How much effort did Sheikh Mansour put into getting the Manchester City fans on side before he bought Manchester City?
Yeah.
Well, that would be none, would it?
Mm-hmm.
How much effort do you think Roman Abramovich put into getting the Chelsea supporters on side before he bought Chelsea Football Club? Well, that's none as well. So this idea that you've got to get the fans on board,
yeah,
personally, I think only stems from bids where there isn't very much money, where you can't fund buying players, where you can't go and actually say we'll go and spend 40, 50, 60, 70 million pounds on a footballer. And if we make a mistake, we'll do it again and again and again until we get it right.
Yeah.
So this getting the fans on board is almost a clue as to where we're really heading with all this.
Absolutely.
It's not as if you know, and we've been through the razzle dazzle era already. You know, we can all see through razzle dazzle, and you know, I'm not suggesting that any buyer has to be absolutely minted, but what they need to be is competent. You know, if you look at, you know, the lady that does the deals for the Russian at Chelsea, you know, Granaskaya or whatever his name is, yeah, she's been in her job for years, is very well respected in the world of football, and I suspect is hard as nails when she's negotiating on the Russians' money, but she will be operating a brief that says, we want this player, and this player, go get them. And she will structure the deals to make sure that happens.
Mm-hmm.
Clubs like ours that have to live a bit more modestly, you still need some executive competence. And, you know, we went out, we recruited from Arsenal a guy called Angus Kinnear for the transition period into the Olympic Stadium. Then we let him go, and he's popped up, you know, a year or so later as the CEO at Leeds United. So you look at someone like that, we've actually gone and got somebody who could do a job for the club, and we let them go to retain the services of Baroness Brady, and so David Sullivan can continue running the club like his own personal train set. And to me, what I want to see from PAI Capital more than anything is, even if they just gave us a structure, here's an organogram of how we think the club should be managed and what the responsibilities will be for each of those positions. Don't tell us who's going to do it at this stage. That might be confidential. Mm-hmm. But tell us how you would run the football club. Would there be an academy director? Would there be a performance standard director? Would there be a technical director? Would there be a player acquisition specialist? Whatever it may be. Put the structure there, show us an organogram and say, this is how we believe a modern football club should be organised and run and structured. Because I'm seeing nothing thus far that tells me they have any more ability to run a football club than any half a dozen posters you would pick off the KUMB Forum.
Are we perhaps being a little bit unfair to PAI here? I mean, are we expecting them to be, you know, I'm not saying PR geniuses, but at least to, you know, have their PR in check when really all they're concerned about, perhaps they're not too worried about that side of things at the moment. Perhaps they're not being deliberately woolly because they haven't really sorted it out. Is it because perhaps that they are money men? They are, you know, they are concerned about the finances rather than the PR, and this is why they're coming across the way that they are. Are we perhaps as a fan base? Dio, I'll let you answer this one first. If you are we being unfair on PAI?
I think you're being extremely generous. I think you're being extremely generous indeed. It's a multi-million-pound business transaction. Now, just to give a little example, is at the moment you've got Morrison's supermarket. They're in the process of being taken over, right? They've got bids for them. You don't see the chief executive of Morrison's coming out, or the chief executive of the bidder of Morrison's coming out, promising the world. He's not coming out trying to get, and this is what the way, you know, I suppose you've got to look at it, is that at the end of the day, to these people, we're not fans, we're customers.
Yeah.
We're the ones going to be bringing in the revenue. It's being played out publicly. Now, I heard the Sullivan interview, and I can't stand the man, and I'm going to feel dirty for saying this. I don't think in that interview, when he said about, you know, it's just a property deal, these aren't going to entertain it, I actually didn't see anything wrong in what he said. Now, if these people were credible, they would have let that right over their head and immediately not got into a public spat over what he said, they said. Yeah. They quietly go about their business and say, okay, Mr. Sullivan, behind closed doors and not in the public domain, say, okay, Mr. Sullivan, here is the colour of our money. Here is our proof of funds. Here's what we want to do with West Ham United Football Club. Because what I think they're doing is they are playing on West Ham. They're basically taking us for mugs. Yeah. Because they're playing on the fact that we do not like David Gold, David Sullivan, and Karen Brady. They're playing on that fact. And they're acting just like they do. They're acting like the GSB do. And that's the thing. And it's so amateurish. It's just tacky to me. It's completely tacky. Why play out in public? Why try and get the fans on side? Well, they'll get us on side if they show us the colour of their money, if they buy the club and they run it well.
I think that their argument. Sorry, Dale, coming in there. I think their argument was that they never intended for this to play out in public. According to Philip Beard, it was only the fact that David Sullivan announced that they hadn't shown proof of funds, which, according to PAI, was not the case. That led them to coming out and speaking in public in the first place. Do you think that was a mistake then?
Of course it was. He didn't name who they were. He just said it was a bidder. You know, for all we know, Sullivan could have been lying that there was a bid in the first place. Yeah. So he's not come out and said Philip Beard and a consortium called PAI have come out and that there ain't money.
All right. Okay.
Nobody would have known who it was if they then hadn't stuck their head up and said, "Excuse me." They've used that as an opportunity to get themselves known. No, we can't say this, or we're not having a bad man. Well, sorry, mate, we didn't have a clue who it was anyway. You've just stuck your head above the parapet now, and no, it just reeks to me. Sorry, it just reeks. I'm GSB out, but not GSB out for anybody. That's not how I work.
Okay, good stuff. I should stress that wasn't necessary, as the great Brian Walden used to say. Well, this is not necessarily my opinion, but just thought for the sake of playing devil's advocate, you know, we should put that possibility out there. Pinky, finally on PAI Capital, before we move on, we're getting close to the end of the show. Time is pushing on. I appreciate everyone's got to get up in the morning. Is it not the case of better the devil you know in this situation?
Not necessarily. You know, PAI have put themselves forward. They've said, look, they want to do some kind of a deal. We're told that they're coming back with a new improved bid and all the rest of it. Okay. But I would really like to see more of their plans before either damning them to hell or offering them any kind of a qualified endorsement, because they've gone public thus far. So tell us, as I said, I've made a suggestion there. Show us an organogram of how you think a club should be run, because the thing that most of us have got against GSB, once you move past the relatively emotive stuff of they sold our ground and it all smelt a bit funny, and then we're watching football behind a running track and all the rest of it. It's the fact that we're not run in any kind of conventional way. We've got a vice chair that shoots her mouth off in a paid-for national newspaper column that affects our ability to sign footballers. We've got a chairman that's doing deals because he loves doing deals, but they're never actually good deals, or hardly ever. But he fancies himself a bit of a chief scout. I mean, the all-time classic quote, one meeting I was in, when he told the supporters gathered that he had personally scouted Demba Ba, and that kind of thing. So could you ever imagine the person that does the deals at Arsenal Football Club or Chelsea or Manchester United saying they'd personally scouted a player? That's not their function. Their function is to structure a deal that gets an offer that gets the deal over the line. And really what I'd be looking for from PAI, now that they've let the cat out of the bag, is demonstrate to the supporters that you've got some kind of plan, some managerial and executive competence that you could say the supporters could trust us to run West Ham United Club better than both the current owners or anybody else. Because as much as you either like or don't like Tony Cottee, Rio and Anton, and we've all got different views on players and all the rest of it, with the best will in the world, as nice as they all are, they're not going to be running the football club day to day. And I know a lot of people might look at a club like, say, Ajax, where they've had former players go in there in senior roles in Ajax Football Club. I'm looking at Van der Sar and the other guy, the name escapes me, used to play Mark Overmars, who have gone in senior executive roles at Ajax. The difference being that they actually have demonstrated an ability to do the job. And at that club, I think there's various checks and balances whereby if you go take a wrong steer, you get ejected. If you take someone like a Karl-Heinz Rummenigge to Bayern Munich, where he's in an executive role and that kind of thing, the clubs are structured differently to English football clubs. And to my money, I'd like to see PAI Capital demonstrate why or get us on board, not by saying, look, we've got Tony on board and Rio on board, but get us on board by proving their managerial and executive competence. Because if you look at the banners that supporters put up at games, run like a circus and all the rest of it, that's what the complaints from the supporters are about. It's the fact it's an absolute shambles, to the point of, never mind them offering Tony Cottee a job, I'm chucking my hat in the ring. I want to drive the team bus. There you go.
I'll do that. I've got a license.
Well, there you go. So Dyer's ahead of me on that one. How about I knock up a hell of a sandwich? I want to know on the team bus, yeah, they've got a really good sandwich. And maybe what I could bring to the party is I'll do the sarnies for the long bus journey home. But you get where I'm coming from. Someone look at me and say, well, no, we're probably looking at a qualified chef who understands nutrition and can actually do proper meal plans for the players and all the rest of it. That's about being competent in doing a role and doing a job. That's what you pay for. And I'm afraid PAI Capital have yet to demonstrate to the supporters, if it is them that are really the bidder, and they're not just a stalking horse, whereby once the deal is done, the stadium is sold off through one aspect, which is PAI Capital, then suddenly from the background, somebody else appears to buy the football club. And my own opinion is we're probably in that sort of zone, because PAI, based on what we've seen and heard so far, have shown no capability of running a football club that I can identify.
Yeah.
So they can't be serious about wanting the football club, can they?
Okay.
So, I mean, would you give a £200 million business to Rio, Anton, and Tony to run?
Well, maybe the social media side, but I'm not sure about the rest of it. But yeah, it's a very good point you make.
I like them all as players, and you know, and Rio's nailed his colours to the Man United mast very firmly.
Yeah.
Tony is solid West Ham, really. Yeah, and he's spell at Everton and all the rest of it. And Tony's a nice guy, and blah blah blah. But ultimately, are they any more qualified to run West Ham United than you or I? That's really what I'm asking. And if they're being honest, they'd tell you they're not. So who is going to run it? And I think PAI Capital need to tell us who's going to do it.
Okay, so there you go. So PAI, that's what you need to do if you want to start getting the fans on board and behind your bid. Start giving us a bit more information. Philip Beard, of course, suggested that he couldn't do that at the moment because they were sworn to secrecy. I'm not sure why that would be the case, but we shall see in due course. Of course, not everyone believes that the current board are doing a bad job. Someone who certainly thinks they're doing a good job is Richard Wharton, who's joined us on the live chat tonight. And Richard believes that the board today delivered a top of the PL table team and refers to us as grumpy old men. And whatever next. Has he got a point though?
It's a point. It's a valid opinion, and we all know an opinion can't be wrong. And you know, one of the great things about KUMB and social media, you can express your opinion. People do, and we're never all going to agree on everything. And Richard's making a valid point there. We're top of the league, with Gold and Sullivan.
Absolutely, and of course, and this. But I think the point that especially Hammers United would make, and I don't, wish to speak on their behalf, but they will, of course, always tell you that the entire movement was never about the results. It's not about the fact that the team was playing badly. It was about the organisation and the people who run the club and, the history of what they've done over the years. And I'm sure everyone, Richard, is absolutely delighted, as grumpy as we may appear. Believe me, I can assure you we're all absolutely delighted at the way West Ham United have started this season. Couldn't be happier. But you can, as Pinky rightfully says, you're welcome to your opinion. That's what KUMB is all about. We are a broad church, but Knees Up Mother Brown always try to give everyone the opportunity to speak whatever.
Here's a little bomb for you to muse over. Here's a little bomb. We back the manager in this window. Then the next week, we bring in 4 reasonably quality players. Karen Brady announces that for the benefit of West Ham United Football Club, she's no longer going to write for The Sun. And David Gold and David Sullivan remove themselves from social media and don't give interviews and just let the manager get on with it. Then what do we do? Will it still be GSPL if we remain towards the top of the league for the rest of the season?
I mean, Dyers, if I'll give you my opinion, I'm firmly in the camp of the guilty must be punished, and I'm not a very forgiving person, and I'm afraid thousands of supporters have had their innocent pastime ruined by the decision that was taken by the current ownership to relocate the club. Now, they would argue they've done it to build a better future for the club long term, and that's their opinion, and that's what they've done. But I would argue, actually, it's come at such a price, and that price is ruined the afternoon, the Saturday, the Sunday afternoon for thousands upon thousands of people. And for me, that was a price that was too high, and I'll never get past the stadium issue. That's just my opinion. I'm just one supporter.
No, I get that. I don't like the stadium. I don't like the matchday experience. I had the opportunity. I was offered a ticket for tonight. I didn't want to go. I didn't want to go all the way to Stratford. I mean, it doesn't take long from here. It's just on the high speed. It doesn't take long at all. No. I couldn't be bothered Now, I would have been more bothered to have gone to Upton Park if I was offered a ticket than I would have. It's a chore. That's the thing. Going to that ground is
I mean,
such a chore.
just really basic things whereby, you know, picture your scene, you're 85 years old, you've supported West Ham your whole life, and suddenly you've got a 3/4 of a mile walk or an hour queuing up to get a bus and all the rest of palaver.
Yeah.
It's ruined it for too many supporters for me just to say, well, we're top of the league and we're doing this and we're doing that. I think the supporters came so far down the thought process of the relocation and the whole way it was done, the signing of NDAs, the secret squirrel stuff. They knew the supporters would hate it, which is why they kept it under wraps. And for that, you know, there's deception, deceit. Are they too strong a word? I'm not so sure. But for that whole element, I'll never forgive them. And that's just me. And that's why I'd like to see them gone. The trust isn't there. And that's a great shame because here we are tonight. We are sitting top of the league. You know, David Sullivan must be looking at and going, and still the supporters don't love me. And that's because, David, you turned us over, mate.
You've ripped the heart and soul out of a great football club. No, I mean, I was being a bit cheeky. I mean, I still can't forgive what they've done to the club. Again, like I just said, you know, I never ever thought I'd envisage the day where I'd be offered a freebie to go and watch West Ham United, and I couldn't be bothered because of the match day experience and the location of the ground.
Yeah. And that, to be fair, that is. Sorry, I was going to say that is a common theme that you hear. It, you know, some people will think it's all about results. It isn't all about results for a lot of people. It's the fact that, you know, they had, as Pinky so eruditely said there, you know, it is about the fact that they had something they loved taken away from them. And if it had been for the good of everybody, I think a lot of people would have accepted that. But that isn't the way it's perceived by large sections of the fan base. And you know, it's good if for you it is all about results, then great. You know, as we said, it's everybody's entitled to their opinion, but you've also got to accept that some people feel it's more about just the results, and that West Ham United Football Club to them is more than just, you know, a result on a Saturday afternoon. It's family, it's history. It goes back 100 years. It's in here. It's part of you. You know, it's not just about following a football team, and that's where I think a lot of people feel let down by the current administration. Final word on this, Pinky, before we move on.
Yeah, I mean, as I say, for us, change has got to come because we can't go on like this. You know, we've seen a cracking game of football tonight where we've thrashed Leicester City, hot on the heels of thrashing Newcastle United, and the prospect of Crystal Palace up next. You know, these are happy days to be a Hammer. We're all going to go to work tomorrow, a foot taller, a bit of swagger. You know, we will be hunting out the Arsenal fans, the Chelsea fans, the Tottenham fans, and we won't find them anywhere because they will be hiding. Okay, and just for once, we're going to be walking in, going, West Ham, get some of that, yeah. And yet here we are, talking yet again about ownership, the stadium, the lack of investment. That's why the change has got to come, because, you know, there's a saying in some organisations: if you can't change the people, change the people. And as far as our board of directors are concerned, we're at that point, and we've been there for some time now. And that's my last thing I'm going to say this evening on Mr. Sullivan, Mr. Gold, and Mrs. Brady. Excellent.
Okay. Good debate, chaps. This one's going to rumble on, of course. It's not going to go away. PAI Capital and their attempts to take control of West Ham United Football Club to buy out the current owners, and we shall see what happens. As I say, this one's going to rumble on, and I'm sure we'll be discussing it at length in future broadcasts. But anyway, we have been keeping you long enough. It's past 11 o'clock, and some of us have still got to go and write about the game once this is finished. So I'm going to have to push it on a little bit now. I'm going to end as we always do with a look ahead to the next game. Pinky's mentioned it there. Crystal Palace. Can it be 3 out of 3? This Saturday afternoon, I believe it is, isn't it? We play, yes, Saturday Saturday at 3 o'clock. There's a blast from the past. DL, how do you see this one going?
I don't think we're going to hit them for 4, but I think we're going to win.
Okay.
Maybe 2-0. Maybe 2-0. First clean sheet of the season.
Our record against Palace recently isn't that great, is it?
No, but it used to be. Up until about up until about 3 seasons ago, we had a pretty good record against Palace. It's only relatively recently that it's not been too clever. Time to turn it around.
I mean, I say that we did win at their place, of course, earlier this year. We won 3-2, but prior to that, drew at our place, lost over there, lost at home, drew at Palace, drew at their place, and you've got to go back to actually December 2018, Pinky, for West Ham's last home win against Palace. Was that the one where Anderson scored that worldie? I think it might have been. We 1-0 down at half time, 1-3-2. But how do you see this one going? You confident for Saturday?
Yeah, absolutely. And why wouldn't we be? Why wouldn't we be confident going into this game? You know, Crystal Palace, you got Patrick Vieira down there now. You're a big name in football, but not a big name in football management, that's for sure. I think they're a club that had an awful lot of players released at the end of last season. They haven't spent all that much. You know, now just spending lots of money doesn't give you anything. Ask Arsenal. You know, they're sitting second bottom, having spent what, £110 million net, something like that. So you know, Palace have spent about 40 million quid. They'll run around, they'll huff and they'll puff. But if we play anything like as well as we have had against Leicester tonight and Newcastle last week, we'll blow them away. I mean, we're being no doubt what we're going to see is Palace turning up trying to get a point. It will be 10 men behind the ball and, you know, lots of niggly tackles and all the rest of it. And Vieira saying, compete, win your own battle and all the rest of it. But I think if you look at the way we're playing at the minute, some really silky one-touch football, pass and move, getting players forward quickly, getting players back in numbers, the rock-solid pair of midfielders, Souček and Rice. You know, I mean, I probably couldn't name 3 Crystal Palace players. You know, and that's all. I say that just really to illustrate the gulf between expectations. A good season for Crystal Palace this year will be staying in this division.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a good result for Crystal Palace this weekend will be getting a point at the London Stadium. For West Ham United, we'll be looking at Crystal Palace, and whilst you never take any game for granted, you're going to be saying, if you really want to be a top 6 club consistently, you have to beat Crystal Palace. It's not about drawing with them or anything like that. You have to go onto the field with a mindset that says, we are going to beat you today. It doesn't matter how much you run around. It doesn't matter how hard you try, your effort, your application, all those things were great levelers. You haven't got enough quality to see us off. And we've got more than enough in Benrahma and Antonio and Bowen and, dare I say it, from a set piece, a Dawson, a Souček. Yeah, we should have more than enough for Crystal Palace. And I see maybe not another 4 goals. I think that would be dreamland, but certainly a 2-goal margin win for West Ham at the weekend.
Love it. Love to see all the confidence. Great stuff. And why not? Why not? It's been a fantastic night for West Ham United Football Club. Smashed Leicester 4-1. Who would have predicted that before the game? In fact, I'm sure if you'd have predicted that and last week's result at Newcastle at the bookies, you'd probably be a fairly wealthy individual by now, had you laid out on those two. But anyway, that's just about it from myself and the team tonight. Thank you to DL. Thank you to the Pink Palermo for sticking with us throughout the evening. Thank you also to Gnome for his sporadic appearances. Didn't have much luck with the Wi-Fi at the London Olympic Stadium tonight, but there you go. Some things never change. Thank you also to everybody for joining us here on the live stream. Been great reading your messages, having your company throughout the evening. And who knows? West Ham could still be top of the Premier League with another win this Saturday. That's where we are right now. First time it's happened since 2006. First time in 15 years that West Ham have ended a match day top of the pile. Of course, we're only 2 games in, but we couldn't have wished for a much better start, could we? It's been absolutely fantastic.
It was the great escape season, somebody said as well.
What we were top?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'll have to check up to stats. They're having me on then in that case. But
no, it's true. We were top.
Were we?
Just went a little bit wrong.
Okay. I'll have to check back on that one. But anyway, tonight, West Ham United 4, Leicester 1. Pablo Fornals scoring in the 26th minute to give West Ham an early advantage. Jose Perez sent off 5 minutes ahead of the break before Said Benrahma made it 2. And Michail Antonio scored 2 goals at the end to make it a comprehensive victory for West Ham. And of course, it was Antonio's night, wasn't it? Not only did he score 2 goals, he became West Ham's leading goal scorer in the Premier League, going up to 49, eclipsing Paolo Di Canio's record. And who knows how many more he's going to score. But it's been a great evening for West Ham. It's been great fun having you on here for the stream tonight. And we look forward to seeing you again this week. Pinky, you'll be back at the game, I'm presuming, this weekend.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Good
yeah.
Stuff.
Good stuff. So Jarvo, thank you for the text that says maybe he should have my seat every week. I told him earlier in the day I'll do the jokes, and I'll be there Saturday.
Yeah, well, there was no joke at the Olympic Stadium tonight as West Ham trounced Leicester 4-1 to go top of the Premier League. It's been a great night for us Hammers. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you all again very soon. Till then,
Come on, your irons.
Come on, your irons.
That's what it mostly is. Get on the forum at kumb.com. Come on, you irons.